you everyone for being here and standing for freedom. All is love. As we know, fear is an illusion. All of us are free. Truth can never be destroyed. I'm Karen Klassen, and I'm here every Monday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to give you an opportunity to connect, support each other, and remind you that you're not alone on this journey as we make it through the maze. We are on a journey of ending human slavery and creating a new social structure that is for the people, by the people. And we're not here to take over any government. What we're here to do is co-create a self-governing structure where each province stands on their own, yet we are united as a country. We need you to recognize the power that you have to create prosperity and freedom in your own towns, your communities, and cities through the creation of a new education system, a new healthcare system, agriculture, media, and so on. So now, what we're doing here at Life Force Canada, this is taking place all over the world. Many countries are forming sovereign assemblies through Life Force Global, and the corporate governments that are currently here, they will eventually have to listen to the power of the people and the decisions of the informed people. So we will prevail. We will make it through to the other side. So it's very important that you get involved with your plan council in your town or your province some point very soon. And you can just listen in to our provincial calls and learn more on how to get involved. We do have our Alberta calls on Tuesday, and Wednesday is the BC provincial calls, and then Thursday I do believe is the Prairie call, and then Friday is the Ontario provincial calls. So when every town or city or province creates its own sovereign council, what we call the plan councils here in Canada, they will then have the right to form a grand jury and hold their public servants accountable for infringing upon our natural rights. So planned councils use the law of the land, the natural law, which is more powerful than what our de facto government uses, which is the law of the sea, corporate law, or maritime law. And many of us know that, every single government is a registered corporation in a country different to where they've formed government. So as we know, Canada is not, a country itself. It is a corporation. And basically, we've been tricked into accepting an illegal government and tricked into using their corrupt laws that have no place on land. So our time is now, and we are stepping into a natural law, which we're going to be talking about this evening. And now to learn more about our plan councils, I recommend you join the weekly provincial calls. They're posted in the G-Force network and on Telegram as well. You should be, if you've signed into the Life Force Canada website, you'll definitely be receiving an email with the links to those as well. So again, the chat is open. Please say hello. Let us know where you're from. How our Monday calls work is I offer a little bit of inspiration, and then we share updates, and then we have a topic of discussion, a Q&A, and at the end I offer a 10-minute meditation so that you are integrating all of the information and the knowledge that we offer.
Karen, what I might add is that for those that are new to Zoom or in the Zoom experience, when it comes to the Q&A, Karen will open it up to questions. And just look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see reactions. You just click on that icon and the drop-down menu or a menu will come up, and you'll have the option to raise your hand. So when it comes to questions, just raise your hand at that time, and then Karen will get to you in an orderly fashion, and we'll be able to get through it without everybody talking over everybody. And when you're done, lower your hand. It's one of those things that sometimes we forget. So when you're done, ask your question, lower the hand, and then the next person can have their question answered. Back to you, Karen.
Thank you, Dwayne. Hello, Debbie from Langley. Great to see you here. Hello, Nyla and John from Maine, US. I just interviewed Nyla and John on the food supply think tank, and so I'll be uploading that to our Life Force Canada YouTube channel this week, I do promise. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, I highly recommend you do, because all these Monday calls are recorded and I upload them onto the Life Force Canada YouTube channel. So subscribe and you'll receive a notification every time I upload a video. Okay, so we don't have any updates tonight, so we're going to move right into our topic, which is natural law and what it means to be sovereign. Now, a disclaimer, I am not an expert. I am only sharing knowledge that I have learned. And the knowledge that I've learned is through amazing sovereigns on this earth plane that are incredible, such as Mark Christopher, he's in the UK, Cindy Curry, Mark Passio, I'm not too sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, Mark Passio, and Kenneth Bartle is another one. I do believe that we also have a lot to learn from our First Nations people as well. So the information I'm sharing with you today is really to inspire you and help you get ahead of the game. I'm making this topic as simple as I can, and then you can research it on your own. I do believe that we all need to learn natural law if we want to really experience true freedom. As Vince Goldman stated when he wrote, "Things are not what they seem." We have a view of reality that has been given to us, that is passed through the generations, shared through the media, from family and friends, through our work, and even spiritual communities and books. These influences create paradigms of perception and conceptual realities, and we are convinced that they convey the truth of things. Yet most, if not all, is a veil. Awakening is not convenient to our thought bubble, our ego or identity, because we must be willing to have even our most confronting ideas of self and life stripped away. And when enough space has been created through the unraveling of what is not, we can finally open to the truth of what is. So let's take a nice deep breath in of that life force energy and just ground us here in this space and place. It is that life force energy that sustains us. So rather than observing this information from a logical or analytical point of view, I suggest that you take a moment as we move through today, this evening, to breathe deep and listen with an open mind, an open heart. There might be pieces that you don't agree with, and that is okay. Feel into the information that's being presented from an intuitive point of view. And then ask yourself if what you're hearing just really resonates with your inner knowing. We are all critical thinkers here. And this moment, as every moment that we experience, our moments can really change everything. There's that moment when you woke up to realize that we are in a pandemic, right? And this moment right now can be another moment that changes the direction of your life. It can be a moment where you say, okay, I really want to get involved in a plan council in Surrey. I want to create a plan council in Edmonton. I want to create a plans council in Crystal City, Manitoba, whatever it is, right? So in any moment, we can change the course of our entire life by making a decision and by making it consciously. So making a choice to take action in the creation of our new country, the time is now, right? So making up our mind about it today and seeing how natural law can open up a new path for you and how it can happen in an instant, right? That transformation that we're all seeking comes from within ourselves. And the system that we have been in is self-destructing right now. It doesn't maybe seem that way after we see those moments, you know, and for example, Lytton, and And we know here in Calgary with the Stampede, they're just going to be using that as another Stampede variant. But it's, again, it's theater. And the more we can step out, we send love, we send our prayers, and we just keep stepping back into our own soul force. And we focus on the vision of creating a beautiful earth. What can we do, right? How can we show up? The more we rise up and assist, we co-create a new social structure based in natural law. So now, in what I'm sharing with you today, I do have a video that I'm going to share with you. It is from the Cree Nation here in Alberta. And there's been a lot of talk since we've been having these Monday calls and within the plant councils within British Columbia as well, of how we can really integrate with what our First Nations have already implemented in their life. I do believe we have a lot to learn from them. And so I wanted to, before I get into talking about natural law, I think that we can all sit back and listen to this amazing video. It's different elders that I have here on their website. So I want to share with you, there's always different perspectives and different ways of looking at natural law. And this is just one perspective. And so they talk about the difference between Canadian law and then natural law, and why natural law is needed in our contemporary society right now. And so I have sent them an email, and I hope to one day be able to say that I'm going to be interviewing one of the elders. Sit back and enjoy your tea or your glass of wine or whatever you're having. It is a 20-minute video, but I think it's really important to really become aware of not only how they view life, but I do believe that they know the laws of the land and they've been honoring land for such a long time. So I think this is a really key component. But again, I do believe we have a lot to learn.
Wahotowin, all things are related. This is the foundation of Cree traditional law and is based on the Cree understanding of natural law. The Cree people have always had their own justice system and laws. Developed over thousands of years and passed down orally through ceremony, stories, and song, these laws are to be followed by everyone in a family, community, or society. The language of a people is the vehicle to express these laws. And today, many of our people do not understand Cree law and also feel disconnected from Canadian law. We turn to Cree elders to discuss natural law and its role of the past and present. We have approached our elders and made appropriate offerings as part of Cree protocol to receive their gift of knowledge.
Van vaya wako tona sta puyan no vaya me stahiki vai ta utame moi ko ke me ko na me me no is mo temaga maga ka yo ki vai igis wingati igis wako tai puya moi ki ano ka ki wako tena weo i pe wako tai puya e wo maski moi te me to sak masko sia asini ka yo ki vai e wako tama. I guess one of the things I was going to say in English here is that when we talk about Wakuhtun, is that we're related. The Creator had created this universe and everything, and that universe relates to us. Wakumga. We don't relate to it, they relate to us. And as we are on this earth, we are related to everything that's in the creation, the trees, everything, the grass, the rock, everything. It's part of the earth, just like we are. The earth provides for us. Today we call her Mother Earth. She provides everything for us. And we lift off that. But ever since European people come and live with us, things have started to change drastically.
Ke ko mam ste ko man sum tap che ta in te ko mo neo. Ke ko sini me na tan sa ri ta pa chato. When they make treaties, ni hio ke mam sio ka tichit. Ke mam sio ko ma te ko. Mas negan gata ko na ko. Stego tosi ta ko ma te ko isko no gata ko na. We exist me go set monio. Gokiano Antoni Chiganpo. Just that spirit we have. That's the spirit is going to go up there. That doing the this with there. Piagonoxica, Kitim Sunano. With there. We are sure on Piak, Nioche. Stay away, gave me go so near, he watch. The Gemanachita who must kill.
Wahotoen is a Cree name for the rules that govern the relationship of one thing to another. The guidelines ensure all people respect one another and the other living things on this earth. When people come to live together in peace and harmony, it is called wataskoen. Healthy relationships are the result of following the intent of Wahotoen and wataskoen.
Taskucha yagaya. Umita kaya. Awiri kutakutagayak. Start. Waskay ganik takapi wicham sigama witaski on wanato kitim. Magami chit mustay mai chige magami no pomum. Muisagito gaisino panuch. Uskaya ge wataks na bakyo ge vam. Me wichiton we pai. Samstai sinok inutun tochi so taskeka. Peva neva mama muabchita we taskio. Neo ite taman mu vam trip pai gam mai wichiton sagiton. Kisno toskaim no ke hakwix no no ke program ka sagito. Katam skutatu tatuis ka wapatu. Ewa mo taskio. Magis no exto tena no exi wista oxet totam we nagatito. Ewa mam new exis guys no apaten kauga ko kwe sakchichin to traisino is hioskan bak sagito no taskio no takskno apo de go skais ro ma gana no to ma nanto is mai to tato which toy six no package umami wat guys by ka kuya ya kiwi to tame sagi to na tam tato no itaskeo yo guys.
When the newcomers come to our land, they shook hands. Okay, we agree to live with you. That's that word. I come to live with you in peace, harmony. They shook hands. They had an agreement. They left the pipe, made that treaty. After that agreement was done, they shook hands. He went his way. The Indian stayed on the land. He went over there and he started writing laws. Started to use that paper to make everything his way.
Our understanding of living together in harmony is to have mutual respect, obligation, and responsibility to foster and maintain healthy relationships. Our laws affect our interaction and interconnectedness with all things. Canadian legislation was put on paper to open the land for a growing population. Ceremony, mobility, and economic growth were restricted. In an effort to assimilate our people into a new way of life, children were forced into church and government-run residential schools. The laws written on paper were put above Cree natural law.
The laws that the governments have established do not correlate with what we understand. Our responsibility, obligations are to our Creator and our families. Because we didn't have the opportunity to teach our children these values that we talk about, these concepts, it was stopped. It was blocked. It was manipulated. It was turned into something. Our people were demonized by the churches, by the government, by saying that our elders were not important, that our teachings were not valued or important, our ways were not important. That's what created this whole mess today, and it teaches a person to be more and more bitter and spiteful and cynical, about society and about life. Well, what's the use if your children are taken away? You get angry, you blame society, the system, the social workers, and the justice workers. They're all enemies. Yeah? So that mentality of that person is really becoming an illness, because they don't have no backup. They don't have nowhere to go. They get very angry. So what do? I give up. All must go get drunk. Break the law. It's a vicious cycle, and the way that they're dealing with it doesn't work for us anyway. I don't see it.
The elders discuss the consequences of not following our natural laws. The elders see changes in the youth.
Well, makumuutinegan. Nikuna isitakun. Natuhmatsikiwa itakun. Sakamuniao, the snake hilda, smagansa. Haywaga taiman. Ute, waigimishito gogaya. Kamamunta tsukogai. Sansikisigas tsukogaya. Janksoga. There's lots of people in that thing. Mukatagi not kaskita kanagina tsuko peace. Tamsonati tago mutinawa. Mutino, they can go. They want to take Portugal go cocha. If they are to pay Chiki Oku, the Pime Okumota Skiniko. Some of them research, we don't even know they're in there already. We are snow like we told them. Yet the skianic takes Skitaman. Stony Mountain, the Yetterscan, with Togumbo, with the bullboard, with Timinuma. I agree. Detorskan. I used to work there. I know these things. I work with them. I know. That's why I know. Paganak. We ay makuma. Mo matagay na gini ako eh. We ay manuma. Kumompo ko. Anak sa behaviour. Ganska me gusto tayo sino. Tagoy tiyagan ko ako muna ako. Tanay kong gagisakin ko.
In order to correct dissension between people, communities, and society, we have to adhere to our traditional ways. Our ceremonies and our values continue to be taught. They are as relevant today as they were long ago. The elders share some traditional ways of applying natural laws.
Igo ge pevesta oksesam kaya sitre pera ni kemutas temu ite uskni gis kemutamo atom satamo tanda triska ika tato me. Igo amigo prata mariva spe van ikske taps ikemut taps koche kemut ni hiu ya sur ka uskie ya rexpe. Igo kagmutas tomato ki uyutama ki tanstagitutame. Igo hawa kawu ya soa te tawa tas hocha oskni gisa miskutu he ta toskawat katutama wat ki vai tapo sisa kanagatimat. Yuksam gis soa te tanok te tasmonia ya so ni ram tan soke gotel.
A lot of what the elders teach and bring to us is centered around behaviors. It's centered around relationships, and it's centered around the sacredness of life. White society or the justice system in this case, is that it teaches about separation and about isolation, about removal, about condemning and punishment, judgmental conditions. All of that kind of language does not help restore the family to what it should be.
I've worked for about 10.5 years with adolescents in St. Paul. Paul Maker had an adolescent program for 90 days there for young offenders, and they're all different variety of kids that came. I took them out of there along with an anger management counselor. We brought them out, we put them to a fast. We teach them what the fast was, what it's about. We put them out in 24 hours. That was too short. So they wanted another one. So we went 2 days. And 2 days they finished that. We had 8 of them out there. Anyway, we had to have a volunteer to stay with them overnight because, there's some of them were, young offenders. So you couldn't just leave them out there in the bush all by themselves. So we used a teepee, We had a volunteer staff to stay with them. Anyway, after the second day, when they finished, we had our sweat and the feast, and we done a pipe. There was me and another elder there. And as we finished that pipe, the young people grabbed dishes right away. And my boss, she was a woman there, and as soon as she saw these kids taking food, he said, "You boys." And as she done that, I looked at her and I went like this, and she looked at me and they all stopped. And they said, "Oh, never mind." So these kids, they just kept taking food, After they finished filling their plates, they brought me one. They brought one, and then they brought her. They served everybody. Even though they were hungry, they were the last one to serve themselves, And no one told them to do that, And these kids were the ones that are supposed to be worst behavior kids in there. And I told my boss there, I said, "You just about undone everything I tried to do." I said, "Just by that one time trying to discipline them," I said, "These kids," I said, "we have to be able to learn to give them back responsibility, I said, for their own actions, I said. In the treatment programs, as I speak today, they treat the symptoms. Nobody treats the inside. And that's where that healing's supposed to start.
Practicing Cree natural law creates harmony and justice. Cree laws consider everyone in a disagreement.
We need to start promoting our own worldview. It's not to say that to have biases against the Western system, but rather to understand why things are the way they are. Because that's where it came from. And now we're here. So what can we do to correct that? You know, the damage has been done. So let's look at that. What do we learn from that damage?
If we turn that around and use the model of restoring and reclaiming and helping that person identify their roles and responsibility and support them in that, not condemn them, not judge them, but to give them that loving support as a human being, then I think, that's going to restore not only that person, but the children and the family and the community. Everything we talk about is about family. If you just, in simple terms, go back, it's about family. Because everything in nature is family. There's birds belong to a family. The four-legged beings belong to a family. That's what the elders always talk about. The trees are a family. There's families in everything. And it goes back to this whole area of Wahutun. Even with the Muniao, we have a Wahutun with the Muniao, a relationship. And that's what this talks about. So if they were to listen to our side and talk about our laws and what governs us, our rules around relationship, our rules around our behaviors and so forth in the community and in our societies, we would have a stronger society, a healthier society. We could teach society something about Wahutun and how their own children are being affected the same way. Other ethnic groups are being affected the same way as we are.
I would like to go back. I'd like to see these things go back myself. Where I work in 1996, January 2nd, I worked in Penn that morning, and I left the pipe. I left it. I asked God to help us. I don't think I'll see it what I did ask. I'd like to see all Indian people to come out from that building where they locked up life. I don't think I'll see it, but I see it. Sometimes some people, they listen what we try to teach them.
Those spirits are listen to us when we pray. We ask them to look after our young people all over, even white guys. We pray for these guys, white guys. We pray for them. I'm not just pray for myself. I pray for them every good ways, just because we live with them.
Let's all breathe that in.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Yes.
I love it.
It's our society is in trouble, right? And it's going to be up to all of us to make the shift. And I think that, in summary, if we want the human condition to change, we must learn natural law, right? All of us. And knowledge of these laws, I do believe, is required. And Natural law is really the practice of maintaining that wholeness among all the living systems, as the elders mentioned. And again, I believe we have a lot to learn from our First Nations here in Canada. And I'm going to give you another perspective here as well for all of you. And the natural law, when we focus on natural law, it really is about do no harm to others. And as we heard in the video, natural law really strengthens our friendships and really enriches our own soul journey. Many people believe that the spiritual domain and the material world are separate, and this is so not true. And simply put, natural law is really about self-governance. And all people have a capacity to govern themselves, to know the difference between right and wrong, and to act justly, and to judge for themselves all things, right? Including how other people are behaving. So right now you can see in society in regards to people who are wearing the mask, people who are getting the shot, they are listening to an outside authority, someone that they don't even know. And they are allowing for that person to dictate a set of beliefs. And the majority of those beliefs that are being perpetuated are not even true. And as we move forward in Life First Canada, we don't know how long the transition is going to be from that moment of us stepping out of this corrupt demonic system that we're moving through and into natural law and into becoming sovereign. We have a 10-year plan. We're trusting it won't take 10 years, but when I say 10 years, to me that is, and to all of us, it would be the full manifestation of us being fully free. And as we step into natural law, it means that we don't need a federal government anymore. We don't need politicians. There's no need for a provincial government. There's no need for a hierarchy anymore. Yes, there's going to be a national plan council, a Canadian council. However, all the councils are not, they're not decision makers. They are the educators. And information is just going to be flowing back and forth between all the provinces and the nation. The decision makers are you, right? The people. It will be your town that will be assessing your needs and what you require. So the one who's in control of your life is you. There's going to be no more debts, no more slave debt system where you have to work to live and eat. You may pay some type of maybe service tax, but no longer pay an income tax. As we all know, Revenue Canada is an offshore corporation, and there won't be any more inflation. It's the theater the puppets are creating. And we don't need to live in this. We need to unplug from this matrix. Everyone will have a home, no more mortgages. Each province is going to be growing its own food, so we don't have to rely on other countries. You no longer need to pay for food, no more GMO. We're going to have local farmers producing quality natural food. We're moving out of a legal system and into a lawful system. And the legal system in a court case can take up to 1 to 10 years to 20 years for it to complete itself. In natural law, there's no judge, there's no lawyers. And I do believe the maximum agreed upon time is that there must be resolution and agreement within 3 weeks. Can you imagine living in a system like that, right? In a structure like this. We're bringing back manufacturing to Canada. No longer paying for energy because it's free. No more paying for water, it's free. Alternative energy will be developed and distributed. If you're in the think tanks, you know what I'm talking about. We no longer have mayors in our towns. We have councils, and it can be a council of elders, whatever we want to call it, who really focus on the needs of the town. Each town can implement the one small town philosophy of contributionism, which I think is a brilliant idea. If you have yet to see the Michael Tellinger talk, I interviewed him in our Life Force Canada YouTube channel. So you can go there and listen to what he has to say and learn more about the one small town strategy, the movement. And again, everyone gets to create their town in the way they want to, as long as you are following natural law. And all budgets are going to be transparent. There will be no more budgets that are exaggerated to the degree of what we have here, for example, in Alberta, $600 million consulting fee budget, right? So the greed, power, and control is no longer acceptable. This future sounds amazing, doesn't it? So now with freedom comes responsibility. There are requirements. You are going to be responsible for ruling over yourself, for the care of the earth, and for helping others. It is no longer about anyone sitting back and waiting for others to make a difference, waiting for others to lead, looking for authority outside of ourselves, waiting for others to tell us what to do. This is no longer the way. Complacency is what has got us into this mess in the first place. And so in a moment, I'm going to be opening up and we all can share. If you have questions, please raise your hand. Just click on the reaction button, as Dwayne mentioned earlier. Click on the reaction button and I'll call your name out. I think this is a really important discussion to have and to see how we can truly bring natural law into not only our provinces and our towns, but into our own life, right? And it's not just the few that are going to be creating this new earth. It is you and you and you. It's everyone in this country. If we want happiness and freedom and prosperity for all, there are not automatic conditions. There are requirements, and we need to know certain things. We require certain knowledge to spur us to take inspired action. And there's going to be effort that's required. Mental effort means changing our belief system. There's going to be emotional requirements, right? Letting go of anger and resentment and all of that, fear. Spiritual effort, meditation daily, tuning into your higher self and seeing yourself as a magnificent human being that is connected to all that is, and to knowing that you're worthy of love, that you're worthy of prosperity. And as you create that within yourself, and then your neighbor does, and your friends do, and your family, we all begin to shift consciousness. And that's what needs to change on this planet in order for us to truly step into our sovereignty. And sovereignty is being sovereign is really a step on the path, accepting and embodying that highest version of ourselves, right? Okay, does anyone have any questions or ideas? We do need people researching natural law as well. I think it's going to be really important as we move forward. Sherry.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that video. In keeping with natural law and respect for the land, one of the kind of concerns I had with Life Force Canada was this concept of we can build a house as big as we want. When I think about Indigenous people and natural law, I don't have any recollection of chiefs building 7,000 square foot teepees. And so one of the things I teach is the consumption concept, which means we consume what we could actually produce. And so my question is around equanimity, equality, wisdom for extracting resources from the earth. How big would you build your house if you had to extract all the resources for it? How big would you build your house if you had to gather the wood to heat it? I call this the consumption concept. So I'm very curious to know about, while keeping in mind, I know your intention is very much about love and abundance. I'd love to hear your take on balancing love and abundance with a deep reverence for the resources that are required from the planet to live in excess versus abundance.
Thank you, Sherry. I do believe that as we move into embodying the highest version of ourselves, that we're going to feel more of a sense of completion. We're not going to be looking outside of ourselves to find things to fill us up anymore. I think that as we fill up with our own life force energy, as we begin to fill ourselves up with truth, with our own value system, I do believe that we're going to have a less of a wanting for more in life. I think because we're already going to feel the abundance moving through us. We're going to feel the more of who we are already within ourselves. Now, for me, I do live in a large home myself. I love space. And at the same time, because I live in a large home, I know that my home is open to community as well. So I also have my mom living with me. I have family living with me, and my family can come and visit with me, and I open my home to my friends. And so in a lot of cases, pre-COVID, basically, I would have groups here too, come and meet, and we would connect, and I would have sacred ceremonies. So I think that if we do choose to have a large home, I do believe that whatever home we choose is going to be divinely perfect, and every home is going to find purpose. I do believe every home will find its own purpose, if that gives you an answer. I don't think we're going to have the excess anymore as we move forward. I don't think we're going to need it in humanity as we begin to bring that balance.
Thank you. One of my things when I first moved here, and particularly in the suburbs, I looked at these massive homes, like in suburbs, people who are pretty modest incomes. And I just kept wondering, if the power goes out, how do you heat a house like that that's not set up with a fireplace or anything like that? So thank you, I appreciate that, but it's weighed on me. So I appreciate the answer. I yield.
Thank you, Sherry. No, that's a great question. And I think that's going to be an answer that everyone's going to have to ask themselves too, right? What does that future look like for you? And I don't think we're looking at what is right for someone may be wrong for another. I think that when we're letting go of judgment of how other people live as well. I know people who have bigger homes than me. And so I appreciate the why they have that home. But I do believe as we move forward, there might be a shift in consciousness. People are going to want to have a smaller footprint. But yeah, that's going to be an individual choice for everyone. But great question, Sherry. Thank you. Sorry, JM?
Oh, no problem. It's Jason. That was my fault for not spelling it. Thanks so much, Karen. I appreciate your presentation today and the comments that you had.
Oh, Jason.
Yes, that's me. Okay, great. So quick question here then regarding natural law. So I've been studying this for a number of decades now. When you take a look at it globally, you're going to find out that there's a lot of disparate ideas. For instance, if we take a look at the Choctaw versus the Cherokee versus the Sinixit versus the Tulton, we are going to find some discrepancies. But if we go to, say, South America and Mesoamerica, we take a look at tribes like the Kogi, for instance, in Colombia, we're going to find another interpretation, although there's more commonality than differences. And then if we take a look at our European tribal history, like your history, your last name Clausen, you Germania, I have a Keltoi history and so on. Again, you're going to see similar stuff as well with some discrepancies. Question, do we have a working framework for natural law on the G-Force website anywhere, or is this a piece in progress? And then part B, of course, I'm offering to assist you with research.
Jason, thank you so much for showing up. No, we don't have anything as of yet. We do have a group there, but I have been wanting to facilitate it, but right now I'm facilitating the education think tank and the food and supply think tank. So once I move those over to somebody else, then I would love to begin to facilitate the think tank for natural law, because I do believe it's a topic that needs to be discussed. And you're absolutely right. There's definitely many different perspectives on natural law. and I think we as in Lifers Canada, as Canadians, we need to discover what that's going to look like for us. You know, as the Cree elders stated, you know, our legal system teaches separation and isolation and punishment. And this doesn't help in the restoration of family and community. And so natural law is, in my mind, is focused on centering around uplifting our behaviors and encouraging relationships and teaching that sacredness of life. So it's about assisting others to really integrate healing and give back that responsibility, to give back responsibility for their actions, so that they know that we're every human being now is accountable for what we say, what we think, what we do, right? And so thank you, Jason. Yes, I would definitely love your support.
Okay, great. We'll talk more after that. I really appreciate that. And one other thing, you had talked about the financial system and the reset here, which of course I'm assuming is connected to Kim Gogan's Mana World Trust and these other elements that are sort of part of the G-Force reality here. One thing I'll say is I'm an old dark sider from the deep state. So I've been in some interesting circles before my conversion. And one thing I will say is that when the financial system is tampered with, that catches their attention. And anything about putting a two-track financial system is a big smoke signal for the feds, which I'm sure we're probably not naive on this call. We probably know that, but I wanted to reinforce that. Question. Our economic system since the 1500s has been based on something called fractional reserve lending, which is just a sexy way of saying we charge interest and you need to make more money to pay it back, versus a debt-free system. A debt-free system was resultant for this is the reason why Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, because he proposed a debt-free system. So question is, do you have a counter-security and counterintelligence strategy regarding this shift in the financial system that you're ready to implement? Is that something that's gelling in the G-Force kind of milieu, so to speak?
That is a great question. And that is what Kim is definitely working on.
Awesome.
So, yeah, so, and within all of our plan councils within every province, we're also creating a budget for security and law enforcement. Steve, do you want to speak on that?
You've already covered all the bases that I know of. Jason, you know, the progress that has to take place now, I think, is organizing basically our plan councils and starting to get our feet on the ground with regards to natural law. And I think it's really basic. I'm glad you showed that video, Karen, tonight. That is just the basic, what we all need to understand. And I know I've been going through a little bit of it on my meetings. I've been using, Jason, do you know Kenneth Bartel?
Not personally, but some familiarity.
Oh, have you seen his natural laws paper?
I don't think so, but I'm reading.
Okay, well, I'll put it in the chat for everybody that can grab it. I'll do that right now. Just give me a minute. But I think what we're doing right now is understanding where we have to go in regards to educating ourselves and all our people around us, our friends and everybody, because it is the basic, sure that it covers a lot, and the words are kind of, some of them are hard to pronounce if you haven't seen them before. Look them up, but it covers a lot. It gives a very good description of a lot of the stuff that the elders had said and the restoration that needs to happen now, because we live in the now space. We don't live in the past. We don't live in the future. We're here now. And that's what I think this whole, our life force is about, is now. So the more that we can educate ourselves and understand and open our minds up and our hearts everybody will become acquainted with what we lost through our, education. Let's call it education, but it wasn't. It was programming for the last 50 years now, however old anybody is here. We're all different ages, but we all know what we've gone through and what we're all pretty much awake, I think, on this call, and that we see what's going on. So yeah, as far as the like GIA is going to be doing a large part of intelligence gathering and understanding, and probably doing a lot of protection too. But again, yeah, we have to cover those bases, and we have to be very careful on some things. So that is all in the works, because we are just started. The road is in front of us. We have a path, we know.
Thank you, Steve. And Steve has the law enforcement think tank on Wednesdays. I created a page with all the think tank Zoom links to make it easy for everyone. So in a moment, I'll post that in the chat. And Steve is also talking about natural law right now, because we don't have the other think tank up and running. So I do appreciate all you're doing, Steve. And that PDF is excellent too. Right now, I'm also creating a beginner's guide to natural law. It is some work, but I would love some assistance with you, Jason, in that too.
Totally. I'm completely open to you. We'll take that offline after. I yield. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And yes, as we've all mentioned here, we're in a transition, and I do believe that because the dark forces and the core of the dark forces are no longer here. It's just the puppets right now. And so we just need to find our way through. And I think that what is going to be the change is where it's no longer the few of us that are the minority of sovereigns, is that when we become the many as sovereigns, and that's when the shift is really going to happen. So we're calling out to everyone right now to please share the lifeforcecanada.ca website with your friends who are awake and aware, to get them on these calls and to get them inspired so that they can have their rightful place in co-creating this amazing country too. So to all of you, thank you. Barbara.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to sort of maybe make some points about the consumption issue. We've been under a curse with money for thousands of years. So once we come to realize that scarcity is a lie and that abundance is there for everyone, not just the elite anymore, that we will start to transition away from greed and overconsumption. So I think it's going to occur naturally. And I also think that natural law will become a natural progression from that, because we won't be required to be competing with each other. We won't be required to compete for resources. So when that happens, you can share with your neighbor, you can get together with your community to build the new married couple their house. You can get together to, solve the problems that are before your eyes in your community without finding scarcity in your own home. So once you become, I think initially, before, as the transition happens, people will be over consuming. Tank kind of alluded to that when he talked about life assurance, and that some people were going to be greedy and maybe go overboard, but he kind of made this funny face and said, but what's the big deal about that right now? Because there's lots, so you don't have to worry. And I think people, when everyone has it, there's no more need to compete for it. So then those things like overconsumption, not respecting the environment, all these go away because they're not necessary anymore. And then you don't need everything. You're not grasping for everything. You don't feel like you're missing something. And I think it's almost like Star Trek, there's no money, and you have a replicator that will make you anything you want. So everything you want becomes irrelevant to you because you can have it whenever you want. And then you just put it back into the recycler and it goes back into the resources. So I think eventually we probably will see something like that. But I think we have to be compassionate to those people who will be over consuming because they've been so deprived, and maybe it's their due to let them over consume so they can experience abundance in any way that they want, and then they will come to see that they don't need it. Like in my case, I really appreciate a comfy sort of cozy home, but I'm finding a problem with it because my mother is alone and wants to come here, but there's no more room for her. And then my sister recently returned to the country from Kuwait, and now she's retiring, and I'd like her to hear too, but there's no room for her. So I understand what you're saying, Karen. You have that ability to welcome those people into your home, and I don't have that ability, so I have to find other resources for them if I want them by me. So I really understand those things, and I think that, Sherry, you don't have to be concerned too much with overconsumption because I think it will be something that will sort itself out. But again, we're in transition and people are very damaged and very, hurt by the scarcity that we've been lied about. And so I think it'll, sort of naturally happen over time, and that we have to be compassionate to the greedy and also to the people who are doing things wrongfully, because I think when abundance happens for them, they won't have that need to break into your house or, take things that aren't theirs. And so all these things will sort of fall into place with natural law, with loving your neighbor and helping your neighbor and stuff. So I yield with that. That was just my 2 cents.
I love your 2 cents, Barbara. Thank you so much for being here. It's so true. It's like when a person wins the lottery, they go out and spend and splurge and buy everything for their friends and family, and then eventually there's balance, right? So, thank you, Barbara. Nyla, I'm sorry, Tanis.
Hi, Karen. Just want to start off with, I really appreciate you sharing the beautiful documentary that you shared tonight. But I truly do believe what you were saying as well is that with the with the natural law coming into our lives, it has more to do with the healing of things, the healing the traumas of generations of generations of generations. And when we heal those traumas, and I think that that's something that we do need to really focus on, it's going to change a lot of the way that we look at things, and the society will change in itself. The one thing that I do have a question regarding natural law, and it might be a little premature, I don't know, but when it says do no harm, and I know that our legal system, there's the death penalty in some, still in some states and things like that. Have we even considered what kind of punishments there would be for people that kill other people, for instance, like murderers, or, because if we're not to do any harm, and there's so many of the, let's say, like what you call the puppets. I mean, I don't know, do they need punishment as well? I just didn't, it's that part that I just didn't understand, how we could do no harm to others, but if they do harm, what do you do? I don't know. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Yeah, that question's come up a lot the past year, and I didn't really have an answer for you. What I do know is that as we move forward, because a lot of the puppets are soulless, they're not really part of the human species, you might say. I do believe they're going to be taken care of. I don't think we as the sovereigns are going to have to take care of them. I think that they're going to be taken care of for us already. And because we're shifting consciousness, we're shifting into a whole completely different frequency. And Kim's talked about this a few times, is that they will not be able to be here anyways. They're not going to be able to be in the frequency of love and the frequencies that we're shifting into. And so, but I don't know what that looks like. I think that as we move forward in regards to natural law courts, The court system will again be focusing on a jury of our peers. I'm actually creating now what the court system procedures are going to look like. And so that is, you know, where we decide what the outcome is going to be. The peers are going to decide what the punishment per se is going to be. I think it's going to be focused more on how Michael Tellinger talks about Ubuntu and what they do in Africa, and what the elders are talking about with the man who stole the horse. Right, they just bring him into community, and now he's working for the family where he stole the horse from. And so, as we know, everyone that does or partakes in some kind of violent act, it is because they have so much trauma inside them, so much hurt, so much pain, that they don't know what to do with that. And so they are, instead of moving within, they go and blame other people outside of themselves. So again, we've been living in a trauma-based reality. And as you mentioned, it is the profound healing that is going to take place. But I do believe that once people are free of debt, free of the slavery, that they have stepped into an abundance, that the assurance card is going to be here, where everyone has access to great health care, no matter if they want Western medicine or alternative medicine. I think that all the stresses of society are going to be alleviated. And because of that, I think that crime, all of that is going to dissolve considerably. And so I think that as we move forward, we're going to have to look at that on a town committee basis, like a town council basis. What are you going to do in your own town? What are the cities going to do? What are the provinces, and as a nation, having that conversation?
I do agree, Karen. Thank you. And I do, especially about the frequency part, how, you know, the lower vibration energy people cannot exist in the new vibration. I do understand that as well. And I do resonate with some of the other culture bases where they, you know, like say if like a boy stole something like the horse or something. And the one thing that I heard is that, well, there's two things. One, that they were born with a sound, like a chant or a song, and they would sing the song until he felt remorse. I like that one. But the other one, where they, I think that was from Africa, but there was another one where I think it was the Native Americans. They just kept shouting loving words to the person, like they all surrounded them in a circle, and they just shouted loving words to them until they had their own epiphany. I mean, things like that I think would work way better than throwing them in a jail cell.
I agree.
You know, so
the prison.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome, Thomas. The prison system does not work at all, as we know, right? So I think as we move forward, and as Elizabeth stated here too, it's that, you know, as everyone has the abundance in their life, there's going to be no need to steal. You're absolutely true, right, Elizabeth? Yeah. So, and it's knowing that all of us, right? If we're going to look at those two voices that we have within our consciousness, right? The voice of our higher self that says this is the right path, and we have that voice of the ego or the fearful self, or, you know, the demon in the mind that says do this over here. It's up to us individually in our own homes to begin to become really aware of how the voices, the thoughts within our own mind are guiding us. And so as each of us becomes personally accountable, personally responsible for what we think, especially about our beloved, about our children, about our neighbors. Anytime we have a negative thought, that's when we need to say, hey, my ego is taking over right now. I need to step into my soul, step into my heart, and create my action from that place. And as we're all doing that, can you imagine our world would be just completely transformed in so many ways? And so, yeah, it's all about personal accountability as we move forward.
Oh, hi. Yeah. Thanks so much for having this. Hi. Um, I just wanted to first say thank you for all the work you guys all do. We've received a lot of support and inspiration from Plan BC and a lot of people in Canada. We're in Maine and the States. And I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts. I really appreciate a lot of the comments and questions. It's really wonderful. One of the things I love about natural law is I feel that it is profoundly simple, that being helpful and not being hurtful. And I also really resonate with, we have wisdom in our hearts and we have common sense. And that's, I feel like it sums it up with that actually. But then also, I like to, when people are interested in the council, everyone comes from a different background, different perspective. I like to distinguish the difference between natural law and constitutional law, which a lot of people in the States are big on constitutional law because, as you know, it's supposedly a good constitution and all, which it is kind of, but even our constitution was created out of the system that was meant to harvest us and was not at all meant for us. I mean, there's many layers to that, and I don't think I could describe it very simply, but natural law precedes and supersedes all law. It's living, it's now, there's nothing can be defined about it. We can be guided by it, but in no way in our new lawful system are we going to create natural laws. They already are. They will simply be things that inspire and guide us. So I imagine, you know, in the jural process, there being precedent, sure, guidance, sure, but in the moment in people's hearts and minds, they will know, this is what's needed, or this is the best I can discern that what is needed, and that is what we'll do, and we will have the choice, and we will choose, and we may make mistakes, but we will be able to choose, and I think that's really essential. And going in lines too with sovereignty is that, you know, we are sovereign, period. We always have and we always will be, and we've had the illusion of that being blocked and disturbed, and in many ways it has, but in the most important way, it has not, and it never will be. We just are that. Like, so, and also in the native stories and traditions, I feel like many of those are so beautiful, and I feel like the story that we're coming out of, you know, predates that by many thousands of years. Also, it's not just about that. And then again, though, it just goes beyond story to what's happening right now, you know. And there's so much. I mean, it's just so much that's happening right now. It's so beautiful and amazing, and it doesn't even wait for the assurance card that's coming, and that's going to be beautiful too. But it's already here, not like in a airy fairy new age way that there aren't real problems to address, because there certainly are, but we are the solutions already. And even if we don't grow in numbers, we as in one person, we already are the solutions. So I just wanted to pitch in and speak a little bit, and I'd say how much I appreciate you, Karen, and all you guys, and it's really wonderful to be here. Thank you.
John, thank you so much for being here as well. And I'm so glad you are. You just add another layer of awesomeness to all of this. So I appreciate you. And you're absolutely right. Being sovereign really is based in that spiritual law. And we're not here to establish our sovereignty, but rather return to it. And you said something that, you know, in regards to natural law, it supersedes all government laws, and if the majority of people knew that right now, I think we would have less mess and we wouldn't have anyone taking the shot. So I think this is something that as we move forward, we're really going to be stepping into into a deeper truth that's about, natural law. It's always been here. And yeah, thank you, John. Okay, I do believe that Colleen, there was somebody else I thought was here. Colleen.
It's not really to do with the natural law stuff, but on the meeting yesterday, that Tank mentioned that there's a couple of places in Canada that will be ratified.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I don't know if Canada was mentioned.
yeah, he did.
Really?
There's a couple places up in Canada, he said, that are, yeah.
I must have been going to get my tea or something when I missed that, darn.
Yeah, he did, Karen. He said there's a couple that are going to be ratified in Canada. So
yeah,
I think we're on the list.
Yay, that's awesome.
Yeah. I thought you would know. Sorry, that's what.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. And my dad's visiting, so I was like missing pieces of it. So
yeah, and he also said that if you haven't heard anything, that's good. So
excellent, excellent. Thank you for that, Colleen.
Okay.
Love it. Okay, thank you everyone for being here. You are welcome to leave now. If you want to stay for the meditation, I'm going to be offering a 10-minute meditation for all of us to ground into our soul force. So thank you very much for being here. And I will send out the think tank links in that email. I promise you tomorrow morning. I didn't get it up in the chat, but I will send it out. So
Karen,
thank you.
can I just jump in here quickly? We had almost 82 people on the, well, we did have 82 people on the call briefly. I would like to put out a challenge to each one of you amazing souls out there. If you could invite one person to the call next Monday, just one person. We're getting a lot of traction onto the site and a lot of people are registering and it's amazing to see how it is exploding. But we would love to get this call maxed out and just get more and more amazing sovereigns onto this call because we know they're hurting out there. We know they're looking for community. We know that they need to be moved, inspired as to what's possible. So I just want to put that challenge out to you as you go about your weekend or your week and yeah, put that out there and let's see how many we can get on the call next Monday night. Thank you.
Dwayne, is it the preference to have them sign up through the website first?
It would be ideal. Yes, that would be the preference.
Okay, thank you.
That way they can get a kind of a snapshot of what Life Force Canada is all about and what they're getting into. And that way when they do come on board, then chances are they're registered on there and they'll get the links and everything else and kind of get a value add as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Gabby. Gabby's going to invite 4 people. Yay. Challenge accepted, Elizabeth. Thank you. Good, good. Okay, have a good night, everyone who is leaving. And for those of you who are staying, thank you. Yeah, now is the time to really tune into our higher self and connect to source, to spirit, to connect with all of life. Feel the heart. So we're going to close our eyes. And we're going to start with our deep breathing, deep belly breathing. So we're breathing in to the count of 5 through our nose, and we're breathing out to the count of 5, slowing our breath down. Anytime you're stressed throughout the day, just deep breathing brings you into the now, brings you into the moment. And we can get caught up into so much doing. We forget to be. So it's important to unplug yourself from the computer, unplug yourself from your phone for at least 15 minutes a day, if not more. And I know there's many different versions of meditation, walking in the forest, painting. However, what I have found and what has worked for me and many others on a very profound level is a silent meditation, which allows you to become aware of your thoughts. Whether your thoughts are negative or positive, you becoming aware of your thoughts is key. And you becoming aware of your thoughts without any judgment is key. So if you're having a negative thought about your beloved, maybe they didn't put all the dishes in the dishwasher and it triggered you. The smallest things can trigger us. And this is where you become aware of those thoughts. And you can say, oh, look at these thoughts I'm having about my beloved. Look at these negative thoughts I'm having about my beloved. Even though I'm having these negative thoughts about my beloved, I love and appreciate myself. I love and appreciate my beloved. Even though I'm having these negative thoughts, I love and appreciate myself. And even though you may be having negative thoughts about our government, you just become aware of those negative thoughts. It is those negative thoughts that are creating the negative energy in your body, the emotional energy, the energy that is in motion within yourself. And so anytime that you are feeling out of alignment, anytime that you're feeling disharmony, it means you are having a negative thought. It means you're having an incorrect thought. Keep focusing on your breath as I speak. And all you're being asked to do is course correct without judging yourself for having a lower thought. Because you are having thousands of thoughts per day, 70,000 thoughts per day. And you're not meant to be aware of every thought. You are meant to be aware of the thoughts that are triggering you the most. The thoughts that are creating stress, the thoughts that are creating fear, the thoughts that are creating separation between you and your beloved, or between you and a friend, between you and your parents, without judging yourself. You're here to observe your thoughts. Meditation offers you an opportunity to observe your thoughts, to observe how you feel emotionally, so that you can make a different choice on how you feel. So that you can make a different choice on how you are thinking. Keep focusing on your breath. And so now we're going to be focusing on breathing in love and breathing out love. Love in and love out. And these are the thoughts that allow you then to spiral up, to feeling lighter in your body. I am worthy of love. I am worthy of being loved. It's easy for me to speak loving words. It's easy for me to speak kind words. It's easy for me to be compassionate towards others. It's easy for me to reduce my stress. I've got this. It's easy for me to change my focus on things that make me feel good. It's easy for me to change my focus on things that make me feel good. Breathing love in and breathing love out. So we're going to sit here for 5 minutes in silence. And you just creating a relationship with you. Taking in a nice big deep breath. On the count of 3, you can open your eyes. So 1, bring yourself back into your body. 2, bring yourself back into the room. And 3. Just becoming aware of where your mind goes and making it all okay, no matter what. You are divinely perfect, just you being you. Thank you for being here. And for all of you in Alberta, I'll see you tomorrow night. Okay, lots of love, everyone. Thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your night. Together we rise. Yay.
Thank you, Karen. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, see you tomorrow.